Welcome back. Real politics now. Some other political stories you might have missed today. First up, the high cost of public service. A new analysis is out for all of the races for the House and Senate last year, and forget red versus blue. To win a seat on Capitol Hill, you need lots and lots of green. The average cost of winning a Senate seat last year, nearly $10.5 million. Or to put it another way, winning candidates had to raise more than $14,000 every day over a 2-year election cycle. Or for those public servants on a budget, there's the more affordable House seat. The price for winners, a modest $1.68 million. That works out to just $2,300 for every day over that same 2-year period. And Congressman, you obviously you've served in Congress, so you've won House elections. You've been a candidate for the U.S. Senate. How much time do you have to spend in public service dialing for dollars?
It depends on your district. I spent one in 06. 4 million in 08, 3 million. But I represent such a wealthy district that I didn't have to dial for dollars. I could send out fundraising letters. I could have, an event at my home, a dinner with 10 people. The real challenge with the amount of money is not that you are bought off. It's that most of the members maybe spend 1 or 2 days full-time a week raising money.
Really?
Yeah, so that 14,000 you said every day was a 14. No, so they want to raise 30,000 in one day, and so
they don't have to pick up the phone on a couple of other days, just have a couple of days to.
No, but they're told, and there's a huge phone bank in both the Democratic campaign committee and the Republican campaign committee down in Washington, and you're told to go there and dial in. Instead of being in committees doing your legislative work.
Given the ruling with Citizens United and that they're super
passionate, that's part of the problem.
Is that you could end around having to dial for dollars also if I've got money bags Dominic Carter here funding my campaign.
Well, Dominic, let's say we're running against. He thinks I'm going to raise a certain level, so he tries to raise that. I say he's raising that level. I try to raise this, and you just keep going up and up and up, and it's I don't know where it stops.
Is this one of the reasons why there seems to be so much outreach to millionaires and billionaires and very wealthy potential candidates to get them into the race?
Well, you just raised the other point. So then Dominic has a rich friend who's going to jump in. So then you begin to say, oh, I even have to raise more than Dominic's raising.
It's disgusting. I mean, that's the only way to put it. I mean, what happened to, we watch the movies, the Hollywood movies, average Joe decides he wants to go to Congress.
Sure.
You can't do that anymore.
It's probably the most distasteful part of the job.
Elizabeth Warren raised, what, $42 million?
Not sure.
For her race. I believe it's exactly $42 million for her race against Scott Brown. It's disgusting. And then the next question becomes, what everyone is asking at home, why would someone spend $42 million for a job that pays $180,000?
It wasn't their money.
Right, it wasn't their money. But why would you spend that much money for a job that only pays because of the power of the influence?
And people want to be of service, and they think they can do a better job than the people that have been in office.
Plus, you get other perks like getting booked on RFL. So you got that.
Absolutely.
But it's just. I mean, it's I've talked to some Democrats and Republicans who have said, Congressman, that they have to spend sometimes 3-4 hours, what you alluded to, 3-4 hours a day. Their consultants put them in a room, and you're not out pressing the flesh with voters. You're on the phone begging for money.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to argue with you. And it's why you see a lot of people decide not to run for office.
All right, I want to move on to a different set of offices, and it's good to be a governor. More specifically, it's good to be a governor in our region right now, and some new polls prove that point. In New Jersey, Governor Chris Christie's approval rating is at 66% according to an FDU poll, and while that's down 7 from the same poll in January, still enough to give him a 36-point edge on his likely rival for the governorship this fall, State Senator Barbara Buono. What about New York Governor Andrew Cuomo? Latest Siena poll has Cuomo with a 64% favorable rating. That's down 3 from last month, but the poll also gives him a plus 17 on whether New Yorkers would re-elect him. And according to recent reports, people close to Cuomo are actually worried there won't be a strong enough Republican challenger next year, which would make his re-election a blowout. That keeps him out of the headlines, and that doesn't help him as he considers a possible White House run in 2016. That leaves only Connecticut in our region, where Governor Daniel Malloy's approval rating stands at 48%, according to Quinnipiac, excuse me. That's the lowest in our region, but it's his highest score since taking office. Though when asked if he deserves to be reelected, Malloy scores a -3. 45% say he does not deserve to be reelected. 42% say he does. Christie is up for re-election this year. Both Cuomo and Malloy are up in 2014. Before we get into the horse race, why do you think the governors in our region are so popular? I mean, you look at Pennsylvania, their governor is unpopular. Florida, their governor is unpopular.
It's very easy.
Okay.
It's called Sandy. I mean, I'm not saying that in a way that, I mean, because people have lost their lives and lost their homes and everything. But whenever you have a disaster and you have an incumbent, just look, or
it's
a public
the Giuliani
official.
effect.
It's the Giuliani effect. You can take it South Carolina, North Carolina, anywhere. As long as that official is out there with their sweater on and they're perceived as working 20 hours a day, fighting for the constituents, the poll numbers almost consistently will go through the roof.
Congressman, you think that's it, or you think these governors are just well suited for the areas and the constituents they're serving?
There are a lot of factors, but this is the key one.
Okay.
Bill Clinton rescued his presidency with two catastrophes: the flooding in most of Iowa, and then the bombing in Oklahoma. And they saw him, reach out in a very compassionate and empathetic way.
You look at the New Jersey gubernatorial race, a lot of people think Barbara Buono doesn't have the name recognition that Chris Christie does. New York, the Republicans have for a long time had a problem getting a statewide candidate who's got that kind of popularity and that kind of name recognition. Most bets are that they won't have somebody to run against Andrew Cuomo next year. You have your ear to the ground of Connecticut politics. Are there any challengers out there to Daniel Malloy that we should be keeping an eye on?
The minority leader of the House, the minority leader of the Senate, Foley, who ran against Stan last time, is going to run, and there may be one or two others.
What about Chris Shays? Would he possibly be one of those names?
No. I want to become a philanthropist and give away a lot of money.
Can I just say, I think we would make a wonderful cause. We can
for the money.
Right, for the money. For the money. For the money. Speaking of for the money, our third story in this segment, the never elected local political figure who never seems to be that far from the spotlight, sort of like a character from pro wrestling. That could only mean we're talking about WWE executive Linda McMahon, who in 2010 and 2012 spent more than $100 million of her own money to not be elected U.S. Senator from Connecticut. Twice. McMahon, at the very least, keeping her name in the papers, with speculation now swirling that she might run for Congress, specifically your old district, sir, the 4th district seat, now held by Democrat Jim Himes. McMahon set to meet this week with State Republican Chairman Jerry Labriola, and she's even penned a recent op-ed for the Huffington Post of all outlets. Turns out Ms. McMahon, at least in her op-ed, thinks that women can and should play a role in politics. I love those controversial op-eds that keep your name in the paper.
That someone else wrote.
That's you think that someone else wrote.
Tell us how you really feel, Congressman.
No.
And full disclosure, you ran in the primary against Linda McMahon.
I ran, and she beat me fair and square by a lot.
Do you think? Could you imagine her running for Congress in your own district?
I could imagine her running, and I could imagine some people thinking maybe she could pull it off. She did better in the 4th district than other districts.
That's one of the liberties when you have a lot of money. You can often do what you want to do. So, and this is a script that's played out many times before. Take her out of it for a second.
Okay.
But when you're wealthy, you can help out the state party. You can call it voter registration. You can call it anything you want.
Nobody ever loses your phone number.
Right, nobody ever loses your telephone number. Ask the party folks in New York City with Bloomberg. He writes a big check. The party ends up supporting you, urging you to run. When you have said you're not interested, you decide to run. And while you may have lost for Senate twice, you decide you're going to enter another way. Now I'm bringing in Linda McMahon, and perhaps you may win at some point.
But Bloomberg at least is the mayor of New York City. Any talk about him running for any other office, he's at least got that foundation to build off of. What does Linda McMahon want?
No. But the whole point is real simple here. It's just to crack open that door. And once you're there, you got the money bag standing behind you.
I don't think she wanted to lose twice and then just go in the background. And even if she doesn't run, I think she wants to be out there being a factor. And, hats off to her.
All right. We are going to take a quick break here on RFL. When we come back, black smoke No new pope selected today. We will get the very latest in a FIOS 1 report from the Vatican, as well as some predictions on who the next pontiff might be. Stay with us.